Today I am going to be trying alcohol markers for the first time. Ohuhu markers to be exact. Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where I am going to be trying Ohuhu, or Ohuhu as I like to call it, markers for the very first time. I've never used alcohol markers aside from the here and there in like a scrawler box or a friend lending me one. I don't know much about alcohol markers and I'm pretty excited to get into these. Wow. Look at all of these colors. This is the 80 set of Ohuhu markers. They are $37.99 US, which is less than 50 cents a marker. I think that is just crazy. Actually, I think to be more specific is kind of crazy that I think that's crazy because usually alcohol marker is probably $5, $6, $7, $8 depending on your brand. I think that is so ridiculous. I think 50 cents a marker sounds pretty good to me and I'm very excited to get into these bad boys. Look at all these colors. There's just so many here. I see something that looks very close to a sap green. I am very excited. So looking at these markers, I can tell that the design is really sleek. It looks very fancy. Look how shiny the logo and the text is on that. Something I do notice though is that these are by number. It doesn't look like they have any sort of name of the color on them, which kind of makes me sad because I love the name of colors. Oh well, it looks like we're just going to have to call these old 42 and old number 96. So something about Ohuhu markers, aside from the fact that they are very cheap and affordable and a good starter for maybe beginner or learners with alcohol markers, is that they only have 2 nibs, as most markers do. I've never seen a 3-nibbed marker. Well, those weird triangle highlighters. Anyways, they have 2 nibs. We have the broad or chisel and fine or bullet nib. So something that I hear a lot about alcohol markers is that you do want a brush nib. This is what the fine looks like. It's like a little bullet nib, just a little guy, maybe for the finer details. And the broad or chisel, just a big fat round boy. I don't know what you would use this nib for. It seems very inconvenient, maybe just throwing down a color on sketches, but there it is. They're just very fancy and nice looking, huh? I'm very excited to get into all of these colors. Look at all of these guys. Now it looks like some of them have had some mishaps with their names. I'm not sure what that is about, but I think it all comes down to the way these markers perform, so I'm very excited to get into these. Something else I do notice is that the colors on the caps seem kind of light and pastel-y, which is very pretty. I do like it, but let's see if the ink inside does represent those caps really well. The set of markers does come with a color set sort of sheet, but I do recommend swatching your own colors because these are not going to match, I guess, 100% what the actual ink looks like. This set comes with a lovely variety of colors. I love the amount of grays you get, from cool gray, warm gray, and my favorite, the blue grays. A lovely variety of reds and pinks. You have oranges and yellows, my favorite greens, so many beautiful blues, purples, and some shades of brown and something I guess you could consider skin tones, and 2 fluorescents, which I just can't wrap my head around. I am definitely a sucker for swatching, so I had a lot of fun testing every single one of these 80 markers. They went down smoothly, none of them were dried out. It was flawless and I enjoyed every single one of these colors. Can I admit, even maybe the purples, they are kind of nice. There's some gray purples in there. They're not even obnoxious. There's just a range of colors here, and a lot of them are some of my favorite colors. There's a lot of earthy tones in here. There's some bright ones that I cannot wait to play around with. So after I was done swatching these 80 markers, I could not wait to test them out in an illustration. I was just itching to get sketching and to color something with them. They seem like a lot of fun, I'll admit. So I'm going to do some sketching and playing around before I do an actual illustration. That said, I do think the caps do quite a good job at matching the color. I have definitely gotten some markers in Scrawler Box that did not match the cap from the ink. So that honestly had me worried that maybe alcohol markers just never really matched, but wow, look at these. They're not all perfect, but holy cow, look how closely some of these match. At less than 50 cents a marker, you cannot say that they did not do a dang good job at matching the caps and the inks. So I did some sketching and playing around, and this is what I ended up with. I definitely think I need some practice with using alcohol markers because I don't think I quite have my head wrapped around on how to not have them all patchy. As you can see, they're just not as smooth, and I don't know if that's an Ohuhu thing or if that's a I don't know how to use markers thing. Probably the latter. I will definitely admit that I do not know what I am doing, so I can't wait to continue playing around with these things and figuring out how to use them. They were definitely a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more sketchy and just putting a splash of color because these are a little bit more finished than I was kind of anticipating, but I did get kind of into them. I did a sort of little backgroundy piece. I did hatch because there is the perfect color. Number 76 is a perfect hatch color. I was so excited that there was a hatch color in there. Just a little self-portrait, and then I practiced doing some blending at the bottom to try to wrap my head around how to blend them. I know that colorless blenders are a thing, though these sets don't come with a colorless blender. I don't even know if Ohuhu makes a colorless blender. I think you're just really supposed to work at blending those colors together, but I was really scared to work at the paper too hard because I don't know how markers work. I know with watercolor you can really destroy your paper. So I'm trying to throw away all of my watercolor tendencies and work with markers, but this is what I got, and I think I do want to do a more finished illustration piece, so let's make something else. The whole time I was creating this illustration, from the sketch all the way through the markers, I was just so nervous to use a medium that I wasn't used to, and I know I have a lot of pressure on me to create something using markers because you guys are always asking for me to try Ohuhu markers or to try Copics. I felt like there was just a lot of pressure on this one, but I think I had a lot of fun using these markers. Will they be replacing watercolors as my main medium or even Posca pens as my second favorite? Probably not. I am really excited and looking forward to doing sketching and just adding a pop of color, or just sketching with color in general, because I really love alcohol markers in the sense that you don't have to have water, you don't need paper towels, you don't have to worry about making a mess, they're very portable, and they're just easy to take the top off and just start going and sketching and throwing down some blocks of color. So I do like that about markers, and Ohuhu are actually really great. Now this is speaking from someone that doesn't have any other experience with alcohol markers. Sure, I've had little experience with them in Scrawler Box or just trying them out here and there, but they've always just been kind of offhand, use them, get it over with, move on, forget about them. I've never really used alcohol markers in the sense that I wanted to use them, really pay attention to how they feel, though I will say there is one thing I remember about my past alcohol marker experiences, and that is that they had a brush nib, and that is something I certainly missed about these Ohuhu markers. I really just wish they had a brush nib. Now I'm sure that would drive their production cost up way more to make the markers way more than 50 cents a marker, but surely it wouldn't be a $6 a marker investment. You would think. I have no idea how much brush nibs cost, but I can't imagine they wouldn't give Copic some nice competition if they gave them those brush nibs. It's just the extra control and being able to do swooshes and control if you want a fat stroke or a thin stroke. Those are things that I really miss, even just using an alcohol marker for just an hour in my past. I know that a brush nib would be so good. One other thing is that individual markers are not sold by Ohuhu, so if one of your markers dries up or you use it up, you have to buy a whole set to replace that one marker. Kind of a bummer, but if you are using them so much that they are running out, replacing these cheap markers will probably be worth it for you. Also, most alcohol markers aren't even archival, so personally I would just leave it to sketching anyways. Other than that, I love the colors on these markers. They actually blend well. As I got to use them, I guess learned how to use alcohol markers a little bit better. You really just gotta work with them and don't be scared of layers. I'm just so afraid of ruining the paper and creating a hole in it. I'm just so used to that with watercolor paper. In case you were wondering, the paper that I'm using is B brand marker paper. I just went to my local art store, went to the marker section, and picked up a pad of marker paper that looked just a little bit more fancy than Strathmore. And I made sure to not use the wrong side of the paper. I know that's kind of something that I do in my past with Scrawlrbox, but I think when you open up this book, you stay on the right side and you should be good, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right. Now, if you guys do have any more tips and tricks on using alcohol markers, feel free to tell me in the comments. I am all for learning a little bit more about these alcohol markers. Until then, I would definitely recommend Ohuhu for beginners. I am certainly a beginner alcohol marker user and I had a lot of fun with them. 80 markers for under $40? I mean, yeah, especially if you're just starting out, wanting to try them out, just get a feel for alcohol markers, see if they're the right fit for you, definitely. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two about alcohol markers. Also, thank you so much to Ohuhu for sending me these markers. Appreciate ya. There will be links in the description for the Ohuhu markers. Pick yourself up a set if you're just wanting to play around with them. It's a steal of a deal. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!